All right, so here's another game I played.
Yeah.
The only one from all these sets of like games that I didn't lose or that I
Okay.
won. All right, so it's a modern with H5.
Yeah, I've never liked these structures too much, just because I feel stupid in them. But yeah, okay.
Okay, you never
So,
liked them for either side.
well, I would never play the modern for black because I mean I believe in fighting for the center. But
Yeah.
yeah, with white, I don't really like playing this way. I try to open the game and like play for mate, but um,
Okay.
and basically the way I see it is F4 gets like a sort of strategic kind of position. And I
Yeah.
think that if you want a strategic sort of position, you should just basically like go play like a sort of a King's Indian, like play C4. I mean, if you're going to try to play strategically, why would you put your knight on C3 instead of playing C4? I mean,
Mm-hmm.
to me, it's like if you play knight C3, you're going to want to do something extremely violent and play some kind of Yugoslav attack and try to give mate in the style of the dragon. And if you want to play like a strategic, you should play more like a King's Indian and try to like take more space with C4. But
Right.
this sort of knight c3 f4 strikes me as blending of plans.
So here you could just play like knight F3, bishop E3, C4, knight C3, kind of like a
Well,
King's Indian.
if it were to be a King's Indian, I would think you would want to start with c4 and not bother with knight f3. But
Okay.
because there's a lot of lines in the King's Indian where the knight would go elsewhere.
Okay.
But like, I always learned to like the move bishop e3 here. I played this a few times just because I think it's very flexible. And like if you just go bishop e3, queen d2, for example, on the next two moves, it can actually be pretty annoying for black to find a satisfactory move. Because, for example, like against the plan with f3, knight c3, and castle long, like black's going to want to go a6, b5 and stuff. But if he starts playing a6, b5 while your knight's still on b1, he's going to get hit in the face with a4, and you just start castling kingside instead.
Mm-hmm.
So I always kind of liked this move bishop e3. But
Cool. All right.
yeah,
Well,
okay,
let me jump into the meat of this thing a little bit.
Sure.
So he played H5. I played like this.
Okay. Sure. d4. Wow. Okay.
Yeah, it was something I invented during the game. This is not like something I've ever done before.
Sure.
It didn't seem too bad, but
I'm sure it's not terrible, but it wouldn't have been my first instinct.
yeah. So now he plays A5,
Right.
which prompts me to play knight A4 to defend my B pawn, and we get here. I didn't think I could play C4 because he would just trade and play B5.
Yeah, it's also not the right strategy at this point to open the game when you're like undeveloped.
So I just played C3.
Sure.
And then here. I thought a bit about knight G5 and I thought it was bad, and then I analyzed it later and agreed with myself.
Okay.
Basically, the thing was like knight G5, knight F5. You have to take on E4 once you play knight G5 because G2's hanging.
Right.
So you're kind of like committed to doing that.
Yeah, this feels dangerous.
And then, yeah, once you do, it's like, well, like E3 is coming and like bishop H6 is coming, and
Yeah, this is not great.
I was just not at all in position to like clean up this pawn before something bad happens.
Right.
So I thought I should definitely not do it and just play what I did, which was bishop E2. Here, just simple. I suddenly speed up my own development, right? And we get to
Have I
this
given
position.
you the just lecture yet or no?
What's that?
Have I given you the just lecture?
No, what's that?
I really don't like the word just whenever we're talking about chess because I think that people use the word just under one of two circumstances. One is trying to oversimplify something that really should not be oversimplified. Like, oh, that's just it, just this. Like that, this plan is all there is to it. There's nothing more to see here. Like it feels like you're trying to make it like, oh, very simple when chess is seldom like that.
Right.
And the other circumstance when I hear the word just used is to justify unambitious thought.
Right.
For example, I have a very dangerous attack. Oh, I just want to give him an isolated pawn. Like, oh, I just want something small. It sort of is a way of it can lead to unambitious thought in a position where you should be bolder. So I find that there are two very distinct scenarios where using the word just, it's not so much the word, but the thought process behind it can be very harmful.
Well, I mean, my thought process was that, like, I had this idea of maybe going knight G5, and I rejected it, and so I did the simpler response, having eliminated my other response.
Yeah, I mean, get yourself castled, develop your pieces is a good start. But
right. Like, I looked at something more ambitious and then thought it doesn't quite work. Part of the reason it doesn't work is because G2 is undefended. I will just, develop a couple more moves and then see what my opportunities are.
I mean, but instead of saying just develop a couple moves, you would say, I will complete my development, see how my opponent has played, and then make further plans from there.
Right.
To me, that feels like a better mindset than, I'll just play bishop e2 and castle.
Okay. So we get to this point here.
Right.
And, now I just want to do something good.
Just, huh?
No, but, all right. So we get here, and this is kind of like where I sort of like looked at it a little bit more, right? Because I had different ideas of what to do here. Okay. And what I decided to go for here, I think, was queen e2.
Why?
I was thinking of playing knight to c5.
Why?
Because my knight was just kind of sitting on a4 on the side. I wanted to bring it back towards the center, and I also was thinking that I could either open the queen side or the king side. If he castles king side, I want to open the king side, and if he doesn't castle king side, I want to open the queen side. And queen e2 was so that my f1 rook could have the option to go to the queen side if I open the queen side.
So I think that Black's best plan in this position, it all comes down to if he can play h4 or not. His best plan is to play h4, reroute the bishop to e7, and then play king f8 to g7. This much, I think, is pretty clear.
I don't know if it's pretty clear to everybody, but...
yeah, well, that's the best way to keep his king safe without losing the h4.
Without losing something strategic, yeah. I agree.
And the real question I would say here is, I think my first question I would say is Black threatening to play h4? If he is, then I will very quickly limit my candidate moves to either playing g3 to prevent h4 or g4 directly if I'm not scared of the h-file opening.
Right.
If I decide he's not threatening h4, I mean, it depends on the tempi after like bishop g4, bishop f8, then I would look elsewhere. But queen e2 feels wrong. My instinct is, first of all, I think that h4 could be coming. If he can go bishop, I don't think we're going to be in time to take it. I mean, you could play queen e1 as prophylaxis against h4, because then after bishop g4, he is not in time to get the bishop back to e7.
Sorry, say that again?
You could play queen e1 as prophylaxis against h4 so that he can't get his bishop back to e7 in time after h4, bishop g4, but that feels very artificial.
Right.
And for me...
And Black might be able to defend with queen d8 and then still bring the bishop.
Yeah, but as soon as he plays queen d8, then the move knight c5 becomes significantly more annoying.
Okay.
So knight c5 now he's quite happy to ignore, I think. But if he plays queen d8, knight c5 is a problem. But I don't think this h-file is very scary. I think we should play g4 here.
You think just play g4? No reason to mess around with both sides.
Yeah. I don't necessarily think you want to immediately crush the king side. Your next move may well be king g2 or something slow like this, but I think g4 is clearly part of your plan. I am not worried about the open h-file, and I think that you should. In
the game, I ended up doing this like a few moves later. I don't necessarily remember exactly the moves, but in the game, it was something like queen e2, b5.
Could he have played h4 there?
Knight c5. He could have, maybe. I think the game went something like knight c5.
If he plays well, now you may be threatening a4.
Yeah, we got something like this. Maybe he played bishop f8, and I played like rook b1 stupidly, where a4 was the right move.
Yeah, I mean, if he's begging for you to play a4, you should play
a4, and then we ended up playing this position.
Okay, so here, for example, this is a case where I think things went a little wrong because you didn't play g4. This bishop on h1 is very bad. It would have been much better if it could have gone to e2.
Okay. So if I go back to the position here before I played queen e2, if g4 takes knight h4, as you're suggesting it might do,
belongs on e2 now.
You would now keep the bishop over here. Wow. Just because the bishop sucks on h1, right?
Not only does it suck, it also stops you from playing bishop g3, king f2, rook h1.
Oh man, yeah, that bishop really sucked in the game, but I never like put that together. I was just so like knight on h4, let me cover the squares around my king.
No, but here, I mean, unless he can like kill you right now with some kind of g5, knight takes e5, which I find very hard to believe. Like g5, bishop g3, I think he's going to get himself mated on the f file long before anything's going to happen to
This
you.
also, by the way, is sort of like what happened in that other scenario. Like he played g5 with my bishop on h1, I played bishop g3, he traded on f4.
Yeah, and here, I mean, I think it's very obvious your bishop is much better on e2. It will go to d3 next and stop any knight g6, and then you're ready with, I don't know, rook a2, rook f2 or something. And
yeah. Because basically, there's a knight on h4 and an open h file, but the white king's not getting attacked. So you don't need to be in that sort of what squares do I need to defend mindset. You need to just coordinate your pieces.
Yeah, it's a closed position, and his queen is not coming into the attack, so you should be fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that getting your bishop stuck on h1, I mean, queen e2 feels, not only is it slow, it stops your bishop from retreating like this, and the bishop clearly belongs on this e2 square. I mean, and also this I plan to play rook h1 can become very relevant.
Okay.
I mean, I suppose you could also play bishop g3, rook f2 to h2 is similar, but essentially this bishop on h1 I think ends up really bad.
Yeah, no, I mean you're totally right about it. Okay, let me go back a step and talk about the queen side for a second. What I determined was that with his position sort of not fully set up for black yet, I felt that in some position like this, I really want to play the move a4.
Yes.
For white. Like, really want to play
b5. B5 is really begging for trouble for black. I don't know why he would ever make such a move.
So in the game, I had some position like this, and I played rook b1 to, like, extra threaten a4, and then he played a4. And I was like, ugh.
Yeah, and then it's boring again.
But basically, I should be playing a4 in this position. You agree?
Yeah, I mean, black's king is going to die if he castles short. He really wants to, like, play bishop f8 to e7 and king around to g7 with h4, but that's slow, and if the position remains closed, he might have time to pull it off, but if you're blowing up the queen side, he won't have enough.
If I'm playing a4, I'm not so bad on the queen side that, like, oh no, I opened the wrong side of the board, but basically I'm saying either you go this way and get destroyed, or you stay here and your rooks are discoordinated and you can't fight me on the queen side.
That's exactly right. I mean, he's not going to... I mean, if he could play rook h8 to b8 here and leave the king on e8, I mean, it still wouldn't be glorious, but I think his defensive chances wouldn't be that bad after a4. But given that he will have to put his king all the way on g8, he's really begging to get killed.
Okay, so I know you like the move g4. Is there anything terrible about this move knight c5? If you just look at this for a second on its own.
It feels slow. I think it potentially allows h4 and the bishop to reroute to f8, e7. I don't think it harms your position. I think it's not the most incisive.
Okay. What I ended up getting to with this move was playing b6 for black, I think. No, what did I look at?
b6 would be a very bad move strategically for black to make, because that gives you the option to play c4 when all of a sudden the structure after gc4 isn't horrible for you, it's horrible for him.
Wait, b6 allows me to do what? To play c4.
You can take on d7, and later when you play c4, like if you were to take on c4, normally with the pawn back on b7, that structure would be very acceptable for him, and instead it's horrible.
Can I put the knight on d3 and do the same thing or not?
Probably, but I mean, c4 will be slower, but it should happen. I mean, I don't know.
If he ever plays b5, I'll still play a4, right?
Yeah, no, this looks...
and otherwise I'll play for c4.
Yeah, I mean, it might not be that easy to get c4 through. Like, for example, if you play rook c1 and then black plays b5, maybe you'd be less inclined to play a4 then. But
oh, sorry.
Yeah, but even this still looks very good for you, for sure.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, one thing that I was, like, worried about in the game was him trading on c5 and playing b6 when my queen's still blocking the rook.
No, this will lose for black.
That was one of the reasons for queen e2.
Yeah.
Was to have this.
Not a very good reason.
And then, basically, I looked at this position some, and I did quite well for white.
And white's completely winning, right?
Yeah, and then I was like, wait a minute. I don't even have to do that. I can play rook b1 here, here. And this was really, really winning for white as well.
Yeah, go put the rook on b6, queen on a4, game's over.
So why am I trading my c5 pawn, right?
Yeah.
Um, is so is Rook to B1 the best approach to this? Probably
1-0 is 1-0, and
1-0 is
basically everything looks like 1-0 right now.
There's no better move when everything is just winning.
I mean, Boris Gelfand says as soon as you see a move that you believe has 100% probability to win the game,
you don't need to look at other alternatives.
Yeah. So, like, people often wonder why he takes so long to win positions when he misses some very easy win or something. And he's like, I saw a move with 100% certainty of winning. I don't care how long it will take. As soon as I saw it and played it, I didn't even notice this tactic.
Yeah. Okay, so, well, I think overall my conclusions about knight c5 weren't too wrong. I think it's a fine move. I like that it gives me the option of playing a4 anytime black tries to play b5 to shut the queen side.
Yeah, that's nice for sure. I still think g4 is the move. I think your play really is best on the king side. I think it stops h4 on a permanent basis. I'm not worried about the king being open. But yeah, knight c5. I mean, I'm sure you're better here as well.
I'm forgetting how I got it, but there was some position, Sam, that looked something like this that I eventually got. Let me see if I can figure it out. Maybe like queen here.
Yeah, okay.
Obviously, I would play a4 now in this position, but something like this I remember looking at where, I don't know, let me give white another move somehow. I feel like the white queen is on e1.
Okay.
In the position I'm looking at. So let me just... All right. I'll just play...
If black gets h4 with your queen on e1, does he lose the pawn directly?
I'll play this, 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 and queen d8. Okay.
With bishop f5 and knight b7 doesn't win?
Right. So here, here, here,
oh, okay. The
here.
Question is
he keeps his pawn. I got this position in analysis, more or less, something like this.
The a4 is boom, boom, right?
I don't know if I had a4 for white just ending the game, which is what I would definitely do now. Let's say black's pawn is also on a4. The knight on d6 wouldn't necessarily win the game if black had everything where they needed, right?
Yeah, I mean, if he can essentially, as soon as this position opens, black is done for. But if he can keep it closed, he's okay.
So if the only piece he's fighting is the knight on d6, he's okay. But if any other piece gets out, which right now white has 0 other pieces playing.
Right, but as soon as a4 happens, the game's over. It's completely over.
Okay, cool. Well, that answers all my questions.
If black goes a4 and then I don't know what, knight b6, knight c8 or something, why would he be worse?
Right.
Yeah. So.
Well, yeah, that's great.
Well, I don't know. I mean, hopefully I answered your questions correctly. I mean, I wasn't. It's just me. It's not the computer. But these were some interesting games. Hopefully, I gave some good insights.
Yeah. And I don't know who Eyelash is, but thank you for coming to join us and rate us. I hope you'll introduce yourselves to us at some point, and we can send a raid your way from our dojo channel as well. All right, Sam. So, if I can ask you one more thing, you've answered all my chess questions that I really wanted to know about today. What should I work on next? My plan was to try and play 1 or 2 slower time control games online next. I feel like my very, very basic chess has been sort of reawakened. I've done some puzzles. I've played some blitz games.
That's a very good start. It's hard to necessarily find an opponent who's good for you, who wants to play slow, long games. But if you can do it and find someone of approximately the same level, okay, if it's a little stronger, a little weaker, it's not the end of the world, of course. But getting some classical games or classical time control, it's obviously hard to get during the lockdown, but I would think that's a very good place to start. If you haven't played classical chess in a long time, and you've been training a bit, then it's time to put what you know into motion.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Because I feel like the basic cobwebs are kind of gone. I'm thinking again a little bit. I'm seeing some things. Somehow my blitz rating is the highest it's ever been.
What's that?
2,500.
Oh, man. That's tough.
What's tough?
2,500. That's good.
Is it?
I don't know. It's fine.
For me, it's fine. I used to be 24-0-0. I gained, about 100 points.
It's tough to play blitz with all these clowns who play horribly and flag you.
Yeah, I mean, nobody will play 3-1 or 3-2, so I end up playing 3-0, and I flag a lot with an extra queen. That is part of my rating.
Yeah, that explains.
Although I finally got like a wireless mouse, which is like a little bit better, but still, I just generally like I just have no interest. When I've got 10 seconds left, king queen and like two knights against king rook and pawn, like it's just not interesting to me. I can't find the motivation.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I'm sort of hesitant to embrace this whole chess as a video game thing, but
yeah.
that's sort of what 3-0 can become at the right time for under the right circumstances.
Yeah. So anyway, so I think I just want to play a couple slow games. Hopefully there's somebody else who's like desperately stuck at home and has nothing to do but play a slow game.
There you go. Sounds like a plan.
Yeah. Cool. All right.
Do you have any questions from the chat or anything before we call it quits?
No, I think everybody really loved it actually, Sam. They said that as you were like saying like ideas and variations, people were like saying like stuff like, "Oh my god, chess is beautiful," or like, "Wow, there's so much out there to like learn." And they're like, "Wow, sometimes you get the sense that like you haven't really learned that much yet, or you don't yet know how chess works." And that's kind of like the feeling every time you see the next level.
That's also a sign that you're getting better if you start feeling that way.
Yeah. Yeah, as opposed to like just I have no idea what's going on, but to actually be like, "Whoa, that's cool," and stuff.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, I've been analyzing my blitz games because that's what I have to analyze. For me, it's always helpful to analyze something that I really like care about, right? And just
did you follow my games from the weekend or no?
No, I didn't. I saw that you won a tournament, but I didn't know where to see the games.
Yeah, they were on chess.com. They're on my account, but I played the Accelerated Dragon with Black for the first time in like 15 years, and I beat somebody in 12 moves.
12 moves?
Well, knight takes e4 on move 12 was pretty devastating. It took some time to win the game, and I screwed it up later. But I dropped knight e4 on like move 12 essentially.
Yeah.
Just like taking everything.
Yeah. Blazin' Hot is saying, "Mega idea. I should play a game against Jesse or Kostya in Classical." Yeah, I mean, it won't surprise you that I've thought of that option. And then you say, "Lol, you guys shouldn't be scared of each other." Dude, I'm not scared of anybody. I mean, like, you see how good Sam is, but I'm not scared of him. I mean, I know he's on another level, but I mean, if I play a game with somebody, I'm not going to be scared. I just move my pieces.
Yeah.
I don't think there's many masters who like go around being scared of everybody. I don't know. Yeah, so where should I find your games, Sam? I would love to play over them.
Just on my chess.com account.
Just on your chess.com. Okay, that's cool.
I haven't played since then, so it should just be the last 5.
Yeah. Back when you played classical games, I mean, I never missed a game of yours, basically. So.
Yeah, well, hopefully I can play classical again sometime, but, we'll see. Depends upon the state of the world and the state of chess, which is both very much in limbo right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a nice tournament, though. I basically just crushed a few games pretty quickly. I started 4-0, and then the last round was, well, really bad. But, it started good and only sort of got sour in the last round.
So you drew in the last round?
Yeah, but I was completely lost.
You're completely lost.
I was playing with Cameron Wheeler, who was the bottom seed, and I had already clinched first with like a round to spare with 4-0.
Yeah.
And I prepared something pretty good for him, and I thought, wait, like I've already won the tournament, and like it's unrated. Like, why do I need to burn preparation on this game? So I just like played something else, and I got a position I wasn't particularly comfortable with, and I just dropped a pawn. Like, I blundered it because I wasn't paying enough attention, and then at some point I was like, wow, you're not focused. Like, this guy's outplaying you. You need to, turn up the heat. And that's when I really started to play even worse. And at some point I was completely lost, but I managed to save it.
Yeah. Well, in general, I mean, you are somebody who thrives from competition. So having clinched first in a tournament is not like the best situation for you.
Well, I'm happy to have clinched first, but hopefully next
time
but I
mean,
I'll play better after it's over.
You probably played your best chess the round where you were trying to clinch first compared to like the round where you already have.
Yeah, this game with Andrew where I knight takes e4 him in the Maroczy, like it was basically like going into that round. I mean, I was a point and a half clear of the field. I was on 3-0. Everyone else was on like 1.5 or less. I was playing Andrew. I knight takes c4 to him on move 10 or something,
Mm-hmm.
or like move 12 or whatever. And then the rest of the game was actually kind of sloppy. I was just sort of thinking it's already over, and he made my life much more difficult than I thought it would be, but I managed to beat it in the end.
Cool. All right. Well,
call it a night. Thanks
yeah.
to everybody for joining, and hopefully it was a good session.
Yeah, it was a great session for me. I think it's great. I mean, I was able to learn some things on my own. I was able to learn more with you as well. And next up, I'll play a classical game and analyze that, and then maybe call on you again.
Sounds like a plan.
All right. Thanks, Sam. Bye.
Yep. Bye-bye.